yeah, that's been fun, to open the doors and share a little bit of music in this interesting times that we're living in. So I'm happy to, help share that online too. Und ewig war sie dann mein, und ewig war sie dann mein, ewig war sie dann mein, ewig war sie dann mine. Just because, this kind of gathering that usually happens around music is not happening doesn't mean that the music has to end. You can still sing every day. You can still do all the work that needs to be done.
Welcome to The Choir Baton, a podcast designed to engage with people in stories, ideas, and inspirations stemming from choir. No other art form, no sport, no hobby, no business requires a group of people to execute a communal goal with just their voices. Join me, your host, Beth Philemon, as I interview guests who are singers, teacher conductors, instrumentalists, and community members. Together, we'll ask questions, seek understanding, and share insight from our experiences in life and in choir. Hey, Choir Baton listeners, thanks for tuning in to another episode. You are about to hear a recording of a never before done thing, and this is actually recorded via Instagram Live with two of my dear friends, Emily Wells and Andy Surrena. I had the idea for this as we were all home and quarantined, and Andy began posting videos of himself singing outside in upstate New York because the opera that he had been in with Sarasota Opera as the lead was unfortunately canceled. And I've known Andy and his fiancée, Emily, for 7 years now, as we were both graduate students at Northern Arizona University. My first year as a choral conducting student was Andy's second year as a vocal performance major graduate student, and Emily had recently graduated with the same graduate degree and stayed in the area as she began her career in arts administration. The two of them were a rock for me during that first year of graduate school, and I'm so fortunate that we have maintained an incredibly close friendship ever since then. When they left the Flagstaff area, they moved to New York City, where they both began pursuing their dreams. For Emily, that meant a career in arts administration at the Juilliard School, and Emily now serves as Associate Director for the Vocal Arts Department there. Andy has continued to grow and be a part of so many different opera programs in the U.S., and again, most recently was the lead in Romeo and Juliet at Sarasota Opera. Andy began singing outside of Emily's family home in upstate New York, where they were quarantined, as part of Sarasota Opera's desire to bring opera into the world wherever their singers were, even though they were unable to make music together on the stage as planned amidst this quarantine. And I was taken with Andy's willingness to share online on social media. Quite honestly, he's not one to always show up on Instagram. It's not his jam, and so I wanted to take advantage of that, and quite honestly probably Emily as well. And so what I thought was just going to be a quick kind of conversation about what life was like for them amidst the time that we are in, and hear a little bit of Andy singing, turned into something even greater than I could have imagined. Not only was it an amazing performance, but it was an amazing insight into what does it mean to be a arts professional during this time. We talked a lot about what Andy's schedule is as an opera performer. And if you think about it, right, we are used to, as choral musicians, singing and preparing with one another. But quite honestly, especially in this case, we are not afforded that luxury. And there's a lot of other choirs that don't have that luxury as well. So what can we learn? Well, we can really look to our colleagues in solo settings that also perform in casts like opera singers, like Andy, and see and learn how they pursue their individual rehearsals. You are going to learn so much by what Andy shares with you, in addition to just enjoy hearing him sing. And then a special guest appearance is made, like I said, by his fiance, Emily. And Emily attributes so much of her mindset through this entire process of just being adaptable as a musician, and that helps you be adaptable in life. You know, I said they are each other's fiancés, and unfortunately, they have already had to cancel a bridal shower in a couple weeks, and what their wedding will exactly look like as planned in the summer is up to debate as well. But yet they remain upbeat, they remain passionate about music and communicating with others about it as well. And I think that is such an important lesson for all of us to hear and learn during this time. Listen, I'm not saying it has to be easy. I'm not saying that we always have to be chipper about what is going on in regards to our responses to the tragedy that's happening in the world around us. But I do think that we are responsible for our mindset and in how we treat others, and importantly, how we treat ourselves. And that is focusing on being adaptable and what can you do in this moment to be the best version of yourself. For Andy and Emily, in addition to just taking care of themselves, it's also leaning into music and using this time to establish or maintain routines that they've set as musicians and as professionals so that they can continue to impact the world through their music now, but also in the future when we move past this time of quarantine. I encourage you to reach out to others during this time. And if you think they need a pick-me-up, share this episode with them or share other episodes of the Choir Baton podcast with them, because there are so many great, encouraging, insightful moments from our guests that can really help provide a better understanding of how unique it is that we get to be involved in this art form that is so connected and so passionate about making music, even if we can't make music in the same room with one another like we so cherish at this time. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode of the Choir Baton. And here is the Instagram live recording with Andy and Emily.
Hi.
Hello.
How are you?
Good to see you, Beth. It's been a little while.
I know. It's been, last time I saw you was in New York City, and we, you have fans already. Ooh! Mario, I saw that you signed this. Hi, Mario. And yeah, we were sitting on the stairs outside of Levan Bakery eating cookies at like 10 o'clock in the morning.
That's right. That was a while ago. And you were just talking about creating a little community just like this.
Yeah.
Great. Look at you, how far you've grown. That's amazing.
Oh, well, thanks. Yeah, that conversation that we had on the stairs was really meaningful to me.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. Well, now you are living your best life.
Hey, Miguel.
Oh, hi, Miguel. Living your best life I know not right now, but tell us a little bit about what you've been up to, and then, or do you want to sing first, and then let's sing first, maybe?
All right, you did ask me to sing, so let's go ahead and try some singing here. So this is No Puede Ser. This is a Zarzuela, so it's a Spanish opera from La Tabernera del Puerto, which is the barmaid of the port. All right, so here we go. No puede ser, esa mujer es buena. No puede ser una mujer malvada. En su mirar como una luz singular he visto que esa mujer es una desventurada. No puede ser una vulgar sirena que envenenó las horas de mi vida. No puede ser porque la vi gritar, porque la vi querer, porque la vi llorar. Los ojos que lloran no saben mentir. Las malas mujeres no miran así. Temblando en sus ojos, dos lágrimas vi, y a mí me ilusiona que tiemblen por mí, que tiemblen por mí. Viva luz de mi ilusión, sé piadosa con mi amor, porque no sé fingir, porque no sé callar, porque no sé vivir.
I like.
Thank you so much. Oh my gosh. Mario, sing, yes. All right, that's Mario.
All right, give him some love, y'all. I think you like do all the emojis. I don't even know where you necessarily look
at. What up, my cousin Liz? All right, my cousin Liz just joined. Hey, got the family out west.
That is
here.
Awesome. That is amazing. Hey, Peter. Okay, so what did you just sing about?
Okay, so this was a song. My character just found out that the barmaid, the La Tabernera, has been hanging around this really shady dude, and everybody, the talk of the town is that, well, she must be, not a good look for her. But of course, the tenor is in love with her, and he says, "No puede ser. This cannot be. This is a good woman. This is a decent woman, for I have seen her pray. I have seen her cry, and I hope that those tears that she cries are for me." And so he sings to the heavens.
I love that. I love that. Now, is that from the opera that you guys were just working on in Sarasota?
No, that was an opera in French. That was Romeo and Juliet. Romeo and Juliet, classic story, classic Shakespearean story. And it was an honor, and I was able to play Romeo, and I had a lovely Juliet, Hannah Brammer, and it's really been a wonderful opportunity. Hannah and I have worked together several times. This is our third lead contract together, so sometimes in opera it can be really awkward when you have to be in love with someone on stage and you're doing things like kissing on stage and snuggling on stage. It really helps when you have that relationship from previous experiences. So you don't come in cold.
Oh man, I believe it. Will you sing another song for us?
Sure. So since you asked about it, I suppose I'll sing a little something from the show. Okay. Let's see, I could do the aria. Sure. Lève-toi, soleil, fais pâlir les étoiles, qui dans l'azur sans voile brillent au firmament. Lève-toi, lève-toi, charmant, viens para, astre pur et charmant, viens
Yes, I freaking love it. I love it. Oh my
Thank
goodness.
you.
Okay, so can we ask you a
So
couple questions
that's the
about?
tenor aria from the show when Romeo has showed up at the backyard, the garden of the Capulet's house, and he has turned and just seen Juliet's her candle light up. So he knows that someone's awake up there, and he's singing to the heavens, well, to the sun to appear and to light up her face and to wake up this beautiful woman. So it's the famous balcony scene from Romeo and Juliet.
I love. So are you gonna sing that to Emily, like when she gets to the end of the aisle and like the sun lights up her face?
Absolutely. Right at the
Yes.
sunset. It's gonna be beautiful.
Oh man, I love it. I love it. I love it. Man. Okay, so then like couple quick questions. It's like making me like to see some of these names up here.
I know.
What is right? It's like blast from the past. What is something you
You are my Juliet, Mario. Miss you, man.
Mario, how are you? Have y'all talked
How
to him?
great is it that even though we're all practicing this self-isolation, we can still, connect with everybody on our devices like this?
I know. It's amazing. Well, I was so inspired because I loved, like, I think sometimes when you put stuff out there, you don't always realize that people are watching. And so, like, I wasn't able to watch your Facebook videos live, or maybe you didn't go live on them. I don't know. But, like, I was able to go back and watch them and rewatch them. And that even just made me so happy.
Oh, thank you, Beth. Yeah, I wasn't doing them live. I was recording them. I don't have a videographer that is with me every day, so I just set up a little camera station and hit record, and then I posted it after. So yeah, it's been fun, to open the doors and share a little bit of music in this interesting times that we're living in. So I'm happy to help share that online too.
Awesome. How you guys were amidst Romeo and Juliet, right? When all of this happened, did they have to close it?
Yes, so there was just over a week left of performances at Sarasota Opera. Romeo and Juliet had two more performances that we weren't able to do. It was a little bit unfortunate because I had a lot of family visiting, and it's Emily's parents, so my future in-laws, and they came down to see the show. And we almost made it. It was literally 24 hours when we heard the news that the rest of the shows would be canceled. And so we decided to turn it into a Florida beach vacation instead, and we made the most out of it.
Yeah.
But yes, so it was too bad that it happened. It was one of those things where we were hearing all about these cancellations in New York and San Francisco, and we were like, there's not many cases in Florida yet. Hasn't been a reported case in Sarasota yet. So I hope that we're able to finish this thing out. But then I guess there was 2 reported cases in Sarasota, and that was when the county said there's no more gatherings of over 250 people. And so at that point, we were kind of forced to shut the doors and cancel the rest of the performances.
Like how so I mean, we have a lot of teachers here that have had to cancel their end of the year concerts, and a lot of students here too that aren't getting their end of year concerts. And I'm just curious of like and that's one thing we've been talking about is how are you like kind of conceptualizing and working through that?
Well, yeah, that's a great question. To me, it's important to keep up the kind of routines that you're used to having as much as you can. So for me, what would I be doing now? I'd be looking forward to the next gig and working on the music that I'd want to have prepared for that next gig. So I'm trying to keep that up, keep singing every day. It's what I love to do. So I try not to, lose that routine that I've built up. It's singing every day that keeps my voice in check and keeps everything working properly. And so one of the things that Sarasota actually created was this hashtag Suddenly Opera, which has been a lot of fun to be a part of. And so that's one of the things where every day at 5, they charged the singers to open their windows and sing out into the community, just a piece that they love. And so that's kind of been another way for all of us to share our music and to keep that in our lives, even when we're not necessarily working for a gig anymore. It's just important to kind of, to me, it's like you kind of pretend and like, do the same work so that you're staying on top of your skills. And, that's how I think of it.
I think that's huge, though. I mean, I think that's huge and a testament to the fact that, like, music making is not gig based, even like, and to keep your eye on the next one. And a lot of teachers that have seniors or graduating, and they're like, oh, it's my last choir performance. Like, yes, it is within that setting, whether it's college or high school or middle school or whatever. But like, just because that one experience was not had does not mean there's not future experiences down the road on and that you have to keep perfecting your craft for.
Right. Absolutely. And, so, there's a reason that we all come to music, and there's a reason that we all enjoy this part of our lives. So I think it's important to keep that up and to keep reminding ourselves that just because, this kind of gathering that usually happens around music is not happening doesn't mean that the music has to end. You can still sing every day. You can still do all the work that needs to be done. So.
Woo, say that again.
Just because we're not gathering around music the way we normally would doesn't mean the music has to stop and that the work needs to end. Oh, hi, Mom. Mom's tuning in.
Hi, Mom. Hi, Caitlin. Yeah, that is the product of a middle school choir teacher's son right there.
That's right. That's right.
Right?
Yeah.
So, since your mom is on here,
choir teacher.
What did she teach you that you still apply to this day as a professional singer?
Oh my gosh. Well, one of my earliest memories was, so my mom has been singing her whole life, and she kept it up while she was teaching. She sang with a community college. And so one of my earliest memories was her practicing every day and me just trying to put on headphones, doing anything I can to drown it out. But one of the things that I always try to remind myself from that my mother always taught me was, if you don't use it, you lose it. And you got to keep singing. You got to keep up the voice, because it's, if you let too much time go by, you're going to, let your instrument lack in development. So you got to keep singing.
That's for you, Mario. You do. You need to pull back out those music videos. Oh, hi, Spain.
Hello, Spain. Wow.
Do you know that person?
I don't think so.
Elena, it's hard to totally tell, like, totally kind of tell, like, who are people you know. Do you guys have questions for Andy?
That's right. My mother was right. Keep singing.
Yeah. Yes, Sharon. It's Sharon, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yes, if you guys have any questions you'd like answered, I'd be happy to.
Yeah.
This is a blast. It's just such a blessing that we can do these kinds of things, that we can engage with the community despite being locked inside of our homes in a
I know. Way. Yeah.
Yeah. So another one of the things that I try to keep doing is to, even though we're in isolation, I do try to get outside and walk and stay active physically as well as vocally, so that, you're not letting these things slide, even though maybe your routine has a hiccup in it. And so just try to keep as much sense of regular life as you can. And I think that will get us through this, because eventually this will blow over, as all things do, and the world will keep turning. And when that comes, people will be looking for music. People will be looking for opera to entertain them. Just people are now. Look at all the people that are tuning in for music. And so, just because we have to keep to ourselves a little bit doesn't mean we have to keep our singing to ourselves either. So, when that time comes, whether it's May or June, hopefully before July, because that's when my wedding will be. When that time comes, people will be looking for these professionals again. And so we need to keep those skills skills up.
Yeah.
Oh, hi, Caitlin.
Oh, that's a great question.
One of my favorite memories singing in choir. Oh, there's my future mother-in-law, Queen Lutine. She says, hello, Soscholo, which is
Hi, Ollie.
Miguel's online name. Wow, one of my favorite memories singing in choir. I always have fond memories thinking of Carols by Candlelight, which was this incredible organized event that our Northern Arizona University choir put on, where they'd have how many nights was it? 3 or 4?
Wednesday was preview, I think, right? And then Thursday, Friday, Saturday, one on Sunday.
I think, yeah, 4 nights. And it was every choir, and you know, it was just so much fun. It had such an atmosphere around Christmas, which was my favorite holiday anyway. And one of my very fondest memories was we had a barbershop quartet. Me and my good friends. Miguel is in the chat right now. He was the lead in our quartet, and you know, we would always do this comedic routine for the night, and so making everybody laugh. We did this 12 Days of Christmas where we called it a work, so we used music. We had to have our music in front of us because it's like Beethoven, it's like a work. And so at one point the music flies off the stand and we have to quickly organize it all again, but it's all organized in different orders. So like the baritone will say 12th and the tenor will say second day of Christmas, and it's just hilarious. It's a huge gag.
Andy, some people are asking about, you mentioned like keeping a routine for your session. I'm going to step away in 2 seconds because Connor is very jealous that I'm talking to you via this. I need to shut him out of the room. But you mentioned keeping your routine, and a couple people asked about what is that routine for you, and what does that look like?
Yeah, great question. So I always try to wake up around 8. So it's usually 7:30 is the goal. If I wake up after 8, I kind of kick myself and I'm like, come on, you can get up out of bed earlier than that. But at 7:30, I come downstairs, make myself a healthy breakfast, usually involving eggs and spinach and a little toast. And I try to make sure to hydrate. So I have a coffee and a water, a big tall glass of water in the morning. I find that
you are a tall glass of water, Andy,
kind of,
Surrena.
If I drink a lot of water in the morning, then I find that I am more likely to drink water during the day because my body starts to crave it more. And so after that, I like to go for a little exercise. So I'll do a little walking. And then once I'm done, usually about an hour walk, I'll come back and do some stretching, some yoga, deep breathing, things like that. And that's kind of my morning routine. So now it's about 11:30 noon, something like that. And then I try to think about lunch, start to think, what am I going to have for lunch? And then it's the afternoon that I try to do a lot of singing. So I try to sing for at least 2 hours a day, usually more. But in addition to singing, I'll do translation work. One of the things that I am trying to keep up with is I like to write out all of the words for all of my arias and all of my pieces that I sing, and like have the translations directly next to it. So, and I try to fold up the piece of paper so that I'm only reading the translation and trying to think of the words, and that way you always know what you're saying. And it's a great way to get the flow of the piece, try to write out the words in a poetic structure. And so yeah, I do that kind of work until dinner, and then dinner is lovely and provided by my wonderful future in-laws here. It's one of the benefits of being in the Rochester area. And then after that, it's usually a game or some kind of family activity here. So we're having a lot of fun in this interesting time.
That's all. I love, like, so this was not planned, right? Because then a lot of choir teachers are like, what do I do to give my students assignments that are tangible and things like that, and that don't have to be done with the rest of a choir. And that's one of the things I preach, is having people write out the text from their music, because that's so important to think of it in a poetic standpoint, and not just you're so welcome, April, and not just like how we always look at it in the music. So that's really cool to hear that you do that too, and that that's a really important part of your routine.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's very important to constantly speak the text that you're singing, because to me, music comes out of speaking words and the spoken word not being enough emotion. And so you're just forced to sing out and create the music that tries to give off the emotion that you're trying to express. But when you remove the music element, you can kind of see the emotion that the composer was going for, and how the words flow. And especially when you try to pretend like you're an actor on stage or something, and you try to read the text like they're lines in a movie, then that really helps me conceptualize what the composer was working towards and where the dramatic elements of the piece are included into the music.
I love that. That's such an awesome extension. I mean, like, kids could honestly do like a TikTok of their favorite choir song, like acting it out, right? Like, that's not even them singing it.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, speaking the words out loud give you an idea of the flow of the lines. So to me, music is always going somewhere, right? A lot of times younger singers kind of sing really syllabically, and they're only looking at certain pitches. But to me, it's important to always have direction when you're singing. And so if you say the words like dies Bildnis ist bezaubernd schön, it's not dies Bildnis ist bezaubernd schön. It's dies Bildnis ist bezaubernd schön, wie noch kein Auge je gesehen, ich fühle. So the music always has direction, and sometimes when you speak it like how I just did, it helps give you that sense of direction in the music.
I love that you just demonstrated it. I was just about to ask that. Will you speak that line for us and then show us in singing?
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, I'll do dies Bildnis again. I was trying to think of one that's a little bit more obvious. Okay, yeah, here's one that's easy. Everybody has heard of an opera tenor aria called La Donna Immobile, I'm sure, or if not, it's very famous. You may have heard it and not even realize. But one of the great things that La Donna Immobile demonstrates is the rhyme scheme that's in a lot of these opera arias, this poetic prose. And so when you're singing La Donna Immobile qual piuma al vento, muta d'accento e di pensiero, sempre un amabile leggiadro vito. Okay, now let me try to sing it for you. So what you don't want to do is La Donna Immobile qual piuma al vento. So La Donna Immobile qual piuma al vento. That's a way to do it. It's kind of harsh, and it's like you're mimicking an opera or something like that. But the way that I try to think about it is...
Wait, will you do the bad way one more time? Because I stopped listening, because I was like, oh, I know that.
Yeah, so a way that's a little bit choppy and doesn't really have direction in the music is to sing it, La Donna Immobile qual piuma al vento. That's not really how you speak. That's not how you would enunciate those words. So that would be like singing, La Donna Immobile qual piuma al vento, muta d'accento e di pensiero. But if you were to sing it with direction and kind of enunciating the rhyme scheme that the librettist was going for, it would be something more like La Donna Immobile qual piuma al vento, muta d'accento e di pensiero. So La Donna Immobile qual piuma al vento, muta d'accento e di pensiero. You can kind of get the idea of like it's going towards those finishing words, you know. Yeah, so that's one of the things that I for.
Total sense. Okay, so now I have a challenge for you then, because someone listening to this might be like, well, yeah, that makes total sense in that famous opera aria. But now how do I then apply it to like my regular non like opera type music necessarily. So would you, I'm literally, would you give an example of doing that same thing, how you just sang, like sang, but would you do it with happy birthday?
Yes, that's for sure. So happy birthday to you, happy birthday to you, happy birthday, dear Beth, happy birthday to you, right?
Sure.
So, or how about I do, tomorrow is my beloved fiance's birthday, so I'll sing it for her. um, so, you could sing it, happy birthday to you, happy birthday to you. So, happy birthday to you, happy birthday to you. That's kind of like a weird jazzy way to do it, and that's a way to do it. It's a choice, but especially in opera, we try to maintain the line and direction. In choir too, that's one of the things that our great conductor Edith Copley, Dr. Copley, always tried to get us to think about. And so, if I were to apply that to Happy Birthday, it would be Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Emily. Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday, Em.
Happy birthday, Em.
I know, wasn't that the best way to say it? That's a choice.
Look, some people have created careers out of singing that way, and that's fantastic. But in the art form that I am creating a career out of, it's important to keep that direction and to go for the end of the line. And same thing, some people don't get opera, and I think part of the reason is because they don't understand the concept that was there for a lot of when these operas were written, which was that it's always moving, it always has direction, it always has flow. And so when you think of that, you can hear it all the time when you're listening to opera.
Okay, massive insight though that you just shared there though is that people don't always get that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And it kind of makes sense, like I said, there's just jazz singers that create this deliberate attempt to kind of separate and make it jazzy, where you're kind of changing up the rhythm and how you're interpreting the music. And if people are used to hearing that and used to listening to that style, then they imitate it in their singing. But to me, it's really important, especially if you're in a classical mindset, to listen to classical music and to, every day, I didn't include this in my routine, but every day I do try to wake up and listen to a great singer, just to like keep that idea in my head of the direction in music, what great singing sounds like. These famous tenors that I love, Enrico Caruso, Beniamino Gili, or soprani like Birgit Nilsson is wonderful. And so by listening to these singers, you get this sensation. I feel like it adds to how it's like something weird where the technique is being transferred over into me, where I can hear what they're doing. And I kind of, even though I'm not singing, I start to kind of mimic what they're doing. And so that kind of gets me in that mindset of singing again. So I try to do
Hey,
that.
that's such a great insight.
Yeah.
That any musician can do, and any choir teacher can have their student do too, or I mean, any instrumental teacher is the art of listening.
Right. And listening intently and trying to learn, because there's a lot with Spotify, with YouTube, with all of these resources we have. There's so many wonderful recordings that you can listen to and try to keep, an attentive ear and hear what they're doing. I think that would be a great assignment for a choir teacher, where are they doing dynamics, where are they maybe doing something that is unexpected. So things like that.
Yeah. That's unbelievably helpful. If you guys have more questions for Andy, please make sure you leave them below. We're just kind of like talking about all of these things. I think that's what is so hard. I was talking about this with someone, for students that sing in choir, especially through middle school and high school, and then decide I'm going to be a music major, and especially choral ed majors struggle with, is that then you have to I believe Andy will be singing in Tosca. It's a great example of what he was saying about the words.
That's a great, excellent point, Stuart. Stuart is all the way in England right now. He is Emily's godfather, and he will be the minister at our wedding. He will be officiating our wedding. So, yeah, we're all very much looking forward to it.
Yeah, Emma and I were talking about that this morning, which was like, I'd already been thinking about reaching out to you, and then she texted me. It was serendipitous, perfect timing.
Well, speaking of, we do have a guest appearance who has walked into the room.
Hello. Hey, Brian.
Hi.
This has been really fun. I love hearing the ways that we can talk about opera and how it relates back to choir. And I know for us, that's both where we got our start in music, was being in a choir, and you know, that led to different paths for both of us, but still in the art. So it's really fun to talk about it and to hear all your insight. Who knew?
Right. Well, I mean, that's a perfect lead in. So this is Andy's fiance, Emily, and one of my bestest and dearest friends. And Emily, will you talk then a little bit more about your trajectory and where that's brought you to?
Sure. So I, like many students who get into music, you know, started in choirs and things like that, and always found I had a voice that maybe wasn't quite right for musical theater or traditional choir settings, and found this great love for classical music and opera, and decided I wanted to go to music school and pursue that. And through all sorts of crazy backstories, I wound up in Arizona, where I met both of you guys, and it was also out there where I started to realize that performing was not what I wanted to do with my interest and love for music. And so that led me to a career in arts administration, and love to be behind the scenes and make the beautiful art happen, and think logistics and create opportunities for people. So there are many paths, and I think what does kind of unify all of us is that we, you know, started somewhere, a lot of that being in a choir, and coming through to there's like lots of little comments coming in. Miguel, I'm sure he's but yeah, lots of paths to lead to different careers and opportunities in the arts, and that's what's been so great for us.
Yeah, Emily has had her own challenges of trying to create her own workspace here in her the bedrooms that she grew up in, the home that she grew up in. But you know, we've made it work, and we've tried to resemble what regular life looks like as best we can. And so I'm actually in her office right now. She was generous enough to let me use it.
And yeah, I think that's sort of what I've found across the arts in this time, is that artists are always some of the most resilient individuals. Oh my gosh, Aunt Pat is on here. This Aunt is Pat. Awesome. Artists are some of the most resilient, creative individuals, regardless of this current scenario and setting. And so I've just seen an even greater sense of community and people coming together to create new opportunities to be creative and think, okay, we don't have our regular opera stage, our regular philharmonic setting. How can we still create together? And in the work that I do as an administrator, it's really just making those avenues available for the students and people to have opportunities. So yeah, it's been a challenge, but I'm not surprised by the response of this artistic community, and just everyone's willingness to pitch in and do their part. And I think that'll just continue, you know, much beyond whenever the end of this current setting is. But
yeah, I think that's like the reminder I was telling someone too, like, we are innovators, right? Especially classical musicians. We have been innovating for hundreds of years. Right? Like, we're not going anywhere. Caitlin asked a really great question. She said, how do you think that your music education could have better prepared you for business aspects of music?
That's a good
Oh,
question.
yeah. I mean, I think I was raised with kind of, you can pursue anything you want, but you have to always be thinking about it like a business. So my parents were so supportive of me pursuing music and singing and doing all of that. But it was like, okay, how are you going to turn this into a career? It was never just, you can do it because you love it. It was always like, well, what's the next step? How are you going to apply this? So I had that foundation in my home, which was really helpful. So that led me to, pursue other avenues in school, which was whether it was like taking on a job in my undergrad as like the concert coordinator for family weekend. So I organized all of our like alumni concerts and an alumni like open mic night where people could just sing whatever they wanted for parents weekend. So their parents would come, alum would come back. So that was something that I took on because I was like, well, this is a great like job, and it opened up a whole other side. So I think, you know, teachers and professors who can encourage that type of entrepreneurial thinking and thinking outside of just, I'm an opera singer, I have to learn classical singing and arias, and kind of find ways to capitalize on, what if you were the one having to organize your rehearsal? Like, what are the components that would go into that? And I think, where I work, we have courses and we have a real focus on creating that 21st century singer and being mindful about, not only being the best singer you can, but how to promote yourself online, how to do taxes, how to manage yourself, when to find a manager. And I think things like that are becoming more part of like the general curriculum. But definitely when I was going through school, a lot of that was self motivated in terms of seeking out the information. So I wish that was sort of brought into my education sooner, as well as just to say there are more paths than being an opera singer or being a classical singer or being a choir singer, and just know there are so many things happening in the world that you can pursue and is still applicable with your studies.
Yeah, I was thinking the same direction. Just when I think back to like junior and senior year in college, it was all about what do I need to get this, like recital checked off of my graduate list so that I can have everything required to graduate. And it wasn't as much if I would like to see more of like a training in the real world scenario where how would you build this recital rep, which would you choose to kind of market yourself or to get people interested in what you're singing, and kind of more of an emphasis on how to monetize something like a recital and how to find your own space to perform in. Things like that I think would be very beneficial for people leaving out of school and getting into the workforce.
Yeah. I think that's huge that Juilliard, where Emily is at, is our name drop, is beginning to really, I'll do that for you. I don't know if you can or whatever, but I just did. And, but that they are incorporating that into the curriculum, and that we're beginning to see more and more people realize the importance of it. It's always going to be hard and slow because that's the world kind of education. But because of people like y'all, also there are great examples. And I think what Andy and you have both just demonstrated is that at the end of the day, like being a musician is being a musician, whether you're a administrative musician, whether you're an operatic solo singer musician, whether you're a choir singer or a choir conductor or an instrumentalist or an instrumental conductor, or like some sort, like there's all so many things that we can pull from each other, right? Like everything you just talked about as an administrator, you've had to do as a musician, and musicians still have to do. Everything Andy just talked about, what he does as a solo performer getting ready for operas, are something that like we have to do as well. It is all connected.
Definitely. And just celebrating how many different avenues there are to keep being in this field. I mean, I was a good enough singer, but I was never going to get to that level where that could be the only thing I do. but how grateful I was to know there were so many other avenues to still keep music in my life. And I think just sort of remembering that, because we're all in whatever part of the world we're in going to be at different levels, and success doesn't have to be defined any one way. That's something I think we certainly keep in mind, especially over the last few years as we've navigated our careers together, and what success looks like for Andy is different from what it looks like for me, is different from what it looks like from the peers that we work with in our workspaces. So I say that because I know there are a lot of, you know, choir and middle school choir, and that's like where like you have so few opportunities. There's maybe like one school musical or things like that. And just to remember, like, there's a wide world and a spot for everyone in it. And carving your own path is really important in the arts.
Yeah, that's great things to remember. And, you know, it's one of those things, this career is really tough because it's so hard to define what success is, even when you get that lead stage, that main stage role, like Romeo and Juliet. You know, a month from now, you're not going to have that. You're always looking for the next opportunity. And so you might not feel like you've made it yet. And so it's like, what does that look like? Well, it just looks like always finding the next gig and always trying to make an income at singing. And so it still blows me away that people love this art form enough that they'll pay me to do it. And so just that alone is enough for me to keep going. And so yeah, it's just keeping that in your back of your head to keep going and to keep singing, keep making music.
That's huge.
Mm-hmm.
It's gonna shut us off in in like 12 minutes.
So I'm gonna turn it over to you guys so you can keep talking music and singing and all that fun stuff. So,
well, I just want to say, thanks for joining us. Also, we've kind of alluded to this, and happy early birthday. I will call you tomorrow. And happy belated birthday, I think, to Maggie, because like as I'm doing this, I'm like, that means Maggie's birthday was like a couple days ago, and I missed that, Maggie. I'm sorry.
Happy birthday, Maggie.
Wait, and then Andy, your birthday
April
next month
is next month, so it doesn't matter.
Right. Yeah.
No, but like your like willingness to make music and to do this and to talk and all this kind of stuff, in the midst of like they are planning a wedding that's July. Well, it's in July, and then sorry, I was broadcast the date to everyone. And then like just different things, and you know, you are still
doing it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's, I think the even greater message is that we all just have to keep doing what we're doing, and that we're in it together. And things like this are really fun. I mean, this, I think, is really out of both of our wheelhouse to be this online. I mean, I am like joking that it like took a global pandemic for Andy to like sign on social media 3 days in a row. And it's like,
it's very true.
It's a rare sight when he does anything on there. But I think what this has taught me is just to keep embracing community and finding ways to share. And it's fun. It's fun to hear from different people and perspectives. And this, just to see so many different like Arizona folks, and then folks who follow Beth or folks who follow Andy, and it's fun to share in that way. So thank you guys.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Pam.
Bye. Special guest
Andy,
appearance.
would you sing us out? Now I don't know if I don't know if I can trust this. Mario did request your Rusalka's Song to the Moon.
He was talking about Emily's Rusalka. She used to sing.
I wondered if you guys had a duet you'd sing for us.
No, I think Emily's retired. She's already left the room, and so she escaped the coming out of retirement.
That was actually good. She like knew where I was going just right.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks so much. This has been awesome.
Yeah,
and
thank you.
hard pass, Mario. I love it. All right. Andy, what will you share one more song with us? I know we've had some new people that have joined.
Sas wants to know that Toasty song I used to sing. That's a good question if I still remember that. Let's see. Yes, I'd be happy to. Singing is what I love to do. I just have to think of the right song that I can jump into.
Emily requested one.
Ideale. I know, but I sang that at my junior recital, which was like how long ago? 8 years ago?
Everyone is now requesting this. Mario, Miguel.
Okay, well, tell Emily to bring her phone back here if she's still online, so that I can at least have the words on my
Oh, okay.
hand.
I think you just Em, bring him. Like, give him the words.
Because I would hate to mess up Tosti, the fabulous Italian art song. But anyway, how are you doing, Beth?
I'm good. Just
Are
yell.
you staying sane? Are you keeping up routines?
I am. I need to do a little bit better with my activity. I worked out this morning and like 2 days ago, I need to run a bit more. I got my 10 in, so I'm glad I was proud of your challenge, that you accepted it. Honestly, it's hard because my school started back today. And so now, or yesterday, so I have to like actually be doing classes. Meanwhile, all of like my music world is, they're like online and doing stuff and because everyone else is online, and I want to just do this all day with people, but I have to study corporate finance and write some marketing plans and stuff like that. So, but I mean, I'm very grateful that I don't mind being alone, and that I have like connections with y'all that I can make, and people checking in on me and stuff. So I'm good.
Yeah, me too. I mean, I just think it's such a great, wonderful thing that we have this technology. Just yesterday, there was a old community of singers that I worked with in Texas, in Houston, that we all called each other and checked in and asked how we all were doing, and kind of hung out for an hour, and it's things like that keep us sane and keep us out there connecting even when we have to be alone. So
yeah,
I think we are social creatures, humans in general, and so asking us to be locked in isolation is troubling. And so if we can reach out to each other and continue these conversations, then I think that's great.
yeah,
yeah,
absolutely. All right. Do you have it?
I went and grabbed my computer since it's so heavily requested. Who knew?
I know
that this song was so beloved during my junior recital.
Yeah, that was 8 years ago.
I think so. Scary to say, not to date myself. All right.
Also, I keep
Who's
seeing.
ready?
Of course, I have not curled the back of my hair today. Okay, I'm ready. Yes,
so
Mario,
the,
I got that.
What did Mario say?
We should organize a virtual hangout.
That's right. Yeah, that'd be great. Us NAU folk all getting back together.
Yeah.
Right.
I'd like to nominate Caitlin Simonson to be.
Sing this out.
I don't know if she's still on here. All right, let's do it.
All right, here. This is for you, Pat. Aunt Pat, my great aunt. Here we go. Io ti seguì come ride di pace lungo le vie del cielo. Io ti seguì come un'amica face della notte nel velo, e ti senti nella luce, nell'aria, nel profumo dei fiori, e fu piena la stanza solitaria di te, dei tuoi splendori. In te rapito al suon della tua voce lungamente sognai, e della terra ogni affanno, ogni croce in quel giorno scordai. Torna, caro ideal, grande a sorridermi ancora, e a me risplenderà nel tuo semionte una novella aurora. Una novella aurora. Torna caro ideal,
Andrew Surrena, ladies and gentlemen. Andrew Surrena. Andy, thank you so much.
It has been a pleasure. Thank you, Beth. Thank you all for that request. That was a fun blast from the past, singing that little tune.
Awesome. Yeah, it was Aunt Pat.
Yeah, you're getting the close-up shot, Aunt Pat. It's a lot different than being in the audience, seeing me up on stage.
That's true. And what an interesting perspective. Yeah.
Thank you guys so much for tuning in. You guys are all the best humans in the world. I hope you're all staying safe and healthy and washing your hands and doing all you can to keep this pandemic at bay. And we'll get back out there and sharing our music with everybody. Love to you all.
Yes. Absolutely. Thanks again, Andy. Love you.
It's a pleasure. Let's do this again, maybe with little NAU hangout next time.
I love that. Caitlin,
Yeah.
I'll be watching for that link you're going to send us all with the invite as the planner. Thank you, Emily, as well for joining us, and happy early birthday. And it's going to cut us off in just a second. So thanks again, Andy. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in.
Thanks again for listening to another episode of the Choir Baton Podcast. I'm your host, Beth Philemon, and this episode has been produced by Maggie Hemmedinger. You can follow Choir Baton on Instagram. That's where we hang out the most, both myself and then the various takeovers that we host as well. Make sure you are signed up for our Choir Baton email that we send out once a week, filled with all kinds of information, inspiration, and insight in and about choir. And finally, know that Choir Baton exists to encourage you and to reignite a passion for choir within your heart and mind and soul, especially during this time. And if it has done that for you, we know it will do that for others. So please consider sharing this with a colleague, whether they are a fellow singer, teacher, conductor, composer, anyone within the field, or anyone that's just interested in choir and needs to hear this message at this time. Please consider sharing this episode of the Choir Baton Podcast with them. Thank you so much for listening, and let's get more people singing.